In the first episode, we are introduced to a giant monster that has been defeated by a fighter wearing only a mask and underwear. It appears that the monster is the evil god himself. The fighter is accompanied by an elf who calls him Sunraku. The elf's name is Faria. Sunraku has been eagerly awaiting this moment. Suddenly, Sunraku jumps high and kicks Faria right in the face. Somehow, Sunraku declares that Faria is worse than the evil god. As it turns out, Sunraku is a gamer who has just completed Faria Chronicle Online. The person behind Sunraku plays the game with advanced VR equipment. In this era, screen-based games are outdated. The standard in the gaming world today is VR immersion. Among various works, there are various chaotic games whose systems cannot keep up with technological advancements. They pile up in the market, and people often call them trash games. Normally, trash games are disliked, but there are a few people who want them. The person behind Sunraku, named Hizotomi Rakuro, is one of the strange individuals who play trash games. Faria Chronicle Online, which he just completed, is an example of a trash game. Shortly after that, Rakuro gets ready to go to school. In Rakuro's house, there are several small animals, both pets and frozen ones. Before leaving, Rakuro realizes that one butterfly has escaped and informs his mother. Finally, Rakuro arrives at his school, Matanoki High School. In the school corridor, there is a girl hiding, trying to find an opportunity to chat with Rakuro. She even practices small talk. The girl already knows that Rakuro likes to play games, so she thinks of a game-related topic. When her preparations are complete, her plan immediately fails because one of Rakuro's friends approaches him to start a conversation. The sky is now turning orange, indicating evening. Somewhere there is a game store called Rock Roll that seems to be frequently visited by gamers. The store manager, Mana Iwamaki, is looking forward to the upcoming summer vacation. Sales that are expected to increase during the holidays. The girl from earlier actually visits the store. It seems that she has been coming here often. Mana is very familiar with the girl, Seiga Rie. It appears that Mana already knows why Rie frequently comes to this store. Rie wants to meet Rakuro, but unfortunately, he didn't come today. Rie becomes embarrassed because her intentions are quite clear. As far as Mana knows, Rakuro has been playing an extremely trashy game lately and hasn't been coming here much. According to Mana, Faria Chronicle Online will take a long time to complete. His AI companion often becomes a burden, and the enemy attack patterns are chaotic. Most of the game systems are in disarray. If you don't have strong gaming skills, defeating the first boss in Faria Chronicle Online will be extremely difficult. In fact, some people even throw their VR equipment while playing that game. Setting aside the gaming issues, Mana was curious about Rie's relationship with Rakuro. Suddenly, the entrance opened. The person who came in was none other than Rakuro. God knows how long Rie had been hiding. Mana didn't expect Rakuro to have completed Faria Chronicle Online. Rakuro then recounted his experience playing the game, especially the elf heroine, who was the most trashy. Even though Faria herself often caused problems, even killing citizens or allies, there was an incident where Faria ran over a citizen with a horse-drawn carriage until they died. Despite that, Faria blamed the citizen's death on the evil god. Because of his frequent troubles, Rakuro once flicked her forehead. However, because of that, Faria got upset and stalled the game's story. Rakuro had to persuade her for 3 hours. However, that's why Rakuro was eagerly awaiting the game's ending. After defeating the final boss, Rakuro had 3 minutes before the credits rolled. He used that time to beat up Faria thoroughly. Rakuro felt relieved to finally reach that moment. Because Faria Chronicle Online got him too excited, Rakuro was now unsure of what game to play next. Mana then suggested that Rakuro should try playing a good game for once. Mana pointed to a poster behind her, a VR diving game played by more than 30 million people, Shangri-La Frontier. According to Mana, a game liked by the majority of people was also worth trying. Mana then gestured to seek approval from Rie, who was still hiding. Rakuro finally decided to buy it and headed home to give it a try. Shangri-La Frontier, or SLF for short, is a game that was released last spring and broke the world record for the most active players. Its story setting begins with a space fleet that perished after leaving a new human settlement. Thousands of years later, players live freely in a medieval-themed world. Unlike Faria Chronicle Online, which had almost no advantages, SLF was highly praised by many people. Coincidentally, this game was created by UES. Utopia Entertainment Software, or UES, is a giant company founded by a genius programmer and VR diving game developer, Sukuritsu Kuyo. They operate in the software, hardware, and internet services fields. When he first started the game, Rakuro was presented with the character creation menu. There were many job options to choose from. After browsing through them, Rakuro opted for the mercenary job with dual swords. There were also other selections to make. In the end, Rakuro chose several other statuses such as Swordmaster, Wanderer, Optimist, and seemingly talented person. He picked Wanderer due to its high luck bonus, even though its defense was difficult to increase. Coincidentally, this game determined critical hits and item drops based on luck status. Next, Rakuro had to customize his character's appearance. He looked very excited because there were so many modification options available. Rakuro had played trash games too often, where the customization choices were always limited, so he was highly impressed by this. After spending a long time customizing, Rakuro's character ended up looking similar to the characters he had played in previous games. In SLF, his character wore a bird mask and no clothing except for underwear. Actually, Rakuro wasn't someone who liked to look eccentric. It's just that his playstyle prioritized having good weapons over defense. In other games, he needed money to obtain good weapons. However, in SLF, he could sell his starting equipment. Starting with only 3,000 currency units, he now had 9,000 after selling all of his armor. Then, he had no choice but to choose the bird mask to hide his face, so he reluctantly went with that option. He used the name Sunraku again, just like in his previous game. Now, character creation was complete, and the game was about to immerse the player. In the game's prologue, there was a long text explaining the SLF story. However, Sunraku skipped right through it. After that, Sunraku spawned in the middle of a forest. When he moved his character, he felt the movements were smooth, just like in the real world. Sunraku could run, grip, climb, and more as he pleased. Climbing a tree, Sunraku realized how vast this game world was. Then, Sunraku opened the map to figure out his location. He was a bit puzzled as to why he had spawned in the middle of the forest, as typically, games like this would spawn players in the starting city for beginners. It turned out that Sunraku didn't realize that wanderers would indeed spawn randomly around the beginner area. Currently, Sunraku was in the strange forest, and to the east of him was the beginner's starting city, Firstia. He planned to head to the city while exploring the forest. Sunraku tried to check his status. He had a vitality of 3 because he wasn't wearing any armor. However, he had a luck stat of 30. Suddenly, Sunraku was startled by a surprise attack from a goblin. Fortunately, his reflexes were good enough to dodge it. This was a good time to try out the game's combat system. When the goblin attacked again, Sunraku managed to dodge and quickly defeated it in one strike. From that battle, he leveled up to level 2. Luckily, Sunraku also obtained a weapon drop from the goblin. For now, he chose to use his dual swords only. Shortly after that, Sunraku heard something from behind the bushes. The enemy that emerged from the bushes was a jumping rabbit attacking aggressively. Fortunately, Sunraku was able to dodge it, otherwise he might have died instantly. Moreover, the bloodstained knife held by the rabbit looked deadly. This type of rabbit was called a Vorpal bunny. Nevertheless, Sunraku was able to defeat it in 2 strikes. Besides, he was already accustomed to reading enemy attack patterns while playing games. His level immediately increased to 4 after defeating the rabbit. Sunraku really wanted the rabbit's knife, but unfortunately, there was no item drop at this time. After that, there was a notification that Sunraku had gained some skills. He had yet to try any of the skills. At this point, Sunraku had reached level 12. Most of the points he had were used to increase his luck stat. It took him 2 hours to obtain 2 knives from the Vorpal bunny. It seemed like the rabbit was indeed hard to find. Sunraku had also acquired several more skills, but the most useful one for him right now was Screw Pierce. By the way, Sunraku was having a hard time leveling up again because the monsters in this area were too weak. He decided to continue his journey to another area. Currently, Sunraku was moving away from the starting city. The nearest city to him was Secondal City. He had to cross a bridge to reach the city. Upon arriving at the bridge, Sunraku found something interesting. There was a giant white-haired snake blocking the bridge. It seemed that Sunraku had to defeat it to pass. Finally, there was a fairly tough monster. Area bosses like the snake should ideally be defeated together with other players. However, Sunraku wanted to defeat it on his own. A popular game like SLF shouldn't have a chaotic boss system like trash games. Fortunately, Sunraku had already memorized the attack patterns of the snake monster. At the end of the episode, we are shown the bustling Secondal City. At the city's exit gate that leads to the strange forest, there is a conspicuous player wearing luxurious full armor. It's unclear who that player is.